federal budget is the government's opportunity of the day to set a forecast for the next financial year as to what they're going to spend our taxes on, and also where they're going to save money as well for future services.
All right, so for education and employment, mental health and wellbeing, sustainability and climate change, for diversity, inclusion and equality.
I think there's a lot of downs and ups with the budget. I think in terms of mental health, they've invested quite a bit. So I really do like that. Additionally, they also put in a lot of money for women's rights. I think they did that because last year there was a lot of heat around how much money they put into women's rights because there wasn't much at all. So I really do like that as well.
Again, noting that this budget is a pre-election budget and is also a budget in the wake of the economic backlash of COVID. For me personally, seeing how this budget will aim to improve unemployment and job prospects and also mental health and just education in general will be very interesting for most young people across Australia.
Job trainer, which they're proposing as like an alternative to job seeker, job keeper, in a way that it encourages people to gain a lot of skills and trade so that they can go on a different career path. And so I think this is a fantastic pathway to sort of retrain.
I think young people definitely should be prioritised more in the future. I know that there was job trainer that was mentioned in the budget, but they only pertain to apprenticeships and childcare and IT, I believe it was. So maybe the range of young people knowing that they're supported no matter what their profession is, no matter what they want to do with their lives.
Well, the most outstanding to me is the government's lack of action on climate change, because they did put all this money, hundreds of millions of dollars, into, I guess, addressing the consequences of natural disasters, which is amazing. We definitely need that, don't get me wrong, especially keeping in mind the recent floods and bushfires. But they didn't make a single mention of climate change, and considering that climate change is an existential threat to my generation and the generations after us, it's pretty frustrating to see that not a mention was made of climate change, let alone any actual solutions to this problem.
What I'd really like to see prioritised more in future budgets is a lot more focus on A, education, and B, a lot more support for Australians who aren't able to access many of the services that I think lots of other Australians take for granted.
I think there could be more avenues for proper complex care, like clinical psychologists. And I think there should be sort of an increase in the number of psychologist sessions that we can claim on Medicare. That being said, I do appreciate the decision by the federal government to double the number of sessions, as the care and effectiveness of treatment was compromised when it was limited to 10. Now it's 20 sessions a year, although that's set to expire next year in June, I'm pretty sure.
I think it'd be really nice to see some proper long-term steps taken to address hospital ramping and the ongoing issues with the medical services across Australia.
First of all, I want the government to prioritise First Nations-led solutions to the climate crisis, because we are on their land and they know the traditional ways of actually addressing this problem that we're facing right now.
I think that unless there's a real effort in our budget to focus on systemic injustice and a lack of support towards especially economic poverty that is still experienced by many in Australia, then I think we really aren't taking the opportunity to break many of the cycles that so many people have been caught in for a very long time.
I'm looking at tertiary education and universities next year, and our universities are really struggling considering that international students are such a major part of Australia's economy, and it's very odd that the coalition wouldn't add more for universities.
I wish I could list everything to be prioritised, quite frankly. I'm a big one for health, especially looking at chronic health and mental health. And so looking at this budget was actually pretty good.